how we experience hardship, from something to endure to something that shapes and strengthens us. I invite you to think about a recent struggle. How did it affect your understanding of yourself? Sharing your experiences in the comments can create a space for connection and learning for everyone here. And remember, subscribing means joining a community that values these deep, meaningful conversations about life and self-discovery. Another compelling aspect of Jung's thought is the idea that life is a dance between opposites, light and dark, conscious and unconscious, order and chaos. He saw these dualities not as enemies but as necessary partners in the unfolding of our being. For example, the shadow side, often perceived negatively, contains qualities that can be sources of creativity and vitality if embraced rather than denied. Have you noticed how sometimes our greatest breakthroughs come after facing our fears or confronting uncomfortable truths? This integration doesn't happen overnight, but it's a lifelong process that invites us to live more authentically and fully. Reflecting on this, what parts of yourself have you been avoiding that might hold unexpected gifts? This perspective invites a kinder, more compassionate relationship with ourselves. Instead of harsh self-judgment, Jung's approach suggests curiosity and acceptance, recognizing that every part of us has a role. When you think about your own internal dialogue, is it mostly supportive or critical? What would change if you treated yourself as you would a close friend going through a tough time? This shift in attitude can open the door to healing and self-awareness. It's a subtle but profound transformation that can ripple out into every aspect of life, from relationships to work to creativity. If this resonates with you, staying connected here will bring more ideas and practices to nurture that inner kindness. What makes Jung's ideas so timeless is their relevance across cultures and eras. People everywhere grapple with the fundamental questions of who we are, why we suffer, and how we find meaning. His work provides a map, not a prescription, a way to navigate the complexities of the human psyche with curiosity and courage. So often, life's meaning seems elusive, slipping through our fingers like sand. Yet, Jung's invitation is to look inward and trust that the answers reside there, waiting to be uncovered through reflection, dream work, and openness to the unknown. How might your life feel different if you approached it as an ongoing journey of discovery rather than a checklist of accomplishments? In everyday terms, this means allowing space for silence, for dreams, for those quiet moments when insight can emerge. Whether it's through journaling, meditation, or simply sitting with your thoughts, these practices can connect you with a deeper sense of self. Jung reminds us that this inner work is not selfish but essential. It enriches our relationships, creativity, and overall well-being. When you begin to understand yourself more fully, you can navigate life with greater ease and authenticity. Have you found moments where stepping back and reflecting led to clarity or peace? Feel free to share those experiences below. Your story might inspire someone else on their path. It's easy to get caught up in the external demands of life and forget the richness of our inner world. Jung's insights are a gentle reminder to slow down and tune in, to treat ourselves with patience and curiosity. Life's journey is rarely smooth, but each twist and turn carries wisdom if we are willing to look beneath the surface. The next time you feel overwhelmed or uncertain, consider that it might be your unconscious inviting you to explore a deeper truth. What might you discover if you welcomed those feelings instead of pushing them away? This mindset transforms struggle into opportunity and confusion into insight. Connecting all these thoughts, it becomes clear that life, in Jung's eyes, is a continuous dialogue between our conscious selves and the hidden realms within. This dialogue shapes who we are and who we can become. Each day presents new chances to listen, reflect, and grow. If you find value in exploring these themes, subscribing here is a way to keep that conversation going. Together, we can delve deeper into the mysteries of life and mind, supporting each other's journeys toward wholeness and meaning. And finally, the question that lingers quietly beneath it all is not just about life's purpose, but about how we engage with the mystery of existence itself. Jung invites us to embrace uncertainty as an essential part of the human experience. In that space of not knowing, there is potential for creativity, transformation, and connection. So as you move forward today, what might it look like to live with a little more openness, to befriend the unknown rather than fear it? This attitude doesn't solve all problems but invites a richer, more expansive way of being. Sharing your thoughts on this can deepen our understanding and create a meaningful dialogue here. Remember, subscribing means joining a community that values this kind of reflective, thoughtful engagement. Let's keep exploring together. There's something deeply unsettling about realizing that much of what we believe about ourselves isn't truly ours. Carl Jung often spoke about the persona, the mask we wear for the world. It's not who we are, but rather who we think we need to be. How many times have we caught ourselves behaving in ways that just don't feel authentic, just to fit in, to be accepted, to avoid conflict? We get so used to the mask that we start confusing it with our actual face. Jung warned us about that. The danger isn't in wearing a mask. Sometimes we need it to navigate society, but in forgetting that we're wearing one at all. And when the mask cracks, when life forces us into moments of raw vulnerability, that's when the real self begins to whisper from beneath. Jung believed the path to individuation, the process of becoming who we truly are, requires confronting the unconscious. Not just the light parts, but especially the shadow. The parts we hide, repress, deny. And ironically, those are often the most powerful, the most creative, the most alive. We're taught to be good, to be nice, to be acceptable. But that often means we cut off the most vital parts of ourselves. The anger that could become courage. The envy that could reveal our true desires. The fear that could teach us caution. Individuation is about bringing those parts into the light, not rejecting them. Jung didn't see the shadow as evil. It's just what's unlived. If you've made it this far and you find these ideas resonating, consider subscribing. We dive into concepts like this all the time, ideas that challenge how we see ourselves in the world. And if you're already feeling the gears turning, maybe drop your thoughts in the comments. What masks have you noticed in yourself lately? Jung's idea of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that aren't causally related, suggests there's a deeper order beneath what we usually call chaos. Have you ever thought about someone you hadn't seen in years, only to run into them the next day? Most would brush it off. But Jung saw something more. He believed our inner world and outer world aren't as separate as we assume. The psyche and matter are somehow connected, mysteriously, subtly, but undeniably. It's not magic, it's meaning. When your inner state aligns with the outer moment, something shifts. You feel seen in a way that logic alone can't explain. Maybe that's the universe's way of winking at us. Jung also spoke of the collective unconscious, the deep reservoir of symbols and patterns shared by all humans. That's why myths from different cultures mirror each other. Why dreams across time and geography repeat the same archetypes. The hero, the mother, the trickster, the wise old man. These aren't just stories. They're psychological blueprints. We live them every day without even realizing it. The moment you step up to face a fear, you're the hero on a journey. When you nurture someone, you become the archetypal mother. Recognizing these patterns gives us perspective. We stop seeing life as random and start seeing it as narrative. Rich, symbolic, alive with possibility. And somewhere in the middle of all that, the ego resists. It wants control, certainty, safety. But the soul craves wholeness, not perfection. Jung emphasized that wholeness includes contradiction. You're allowed to be kind and angry, confident and insecure, strong and scared. That's not hypocrisy, it's humanity. When we expect ourselves to be one-dimensional, we fracture inside. And then we wonder why we feel empty, anxious, disconnected. The truth is, healing begins the moment we allow ourselves to be complex. Not just a highlight reel, but a full story. There's a quiet wisdom in the way Jung approached suffering. He didn't try to eliminate it. He explored it, sat with it, asked what it wanted to teach. In modern life, we're so quick to numb pain. Scroll it away, buy it away, drink it away. But pain has depth. It carves out space in us, and that space can hold more awareness, more compassion, more truth. Jung saw neurosis not as an enemy, but as a signal. Something in you is out of alignment. Something needs to be heard. And if you listen, really listen, it can guide you back to yourself. Take a second and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Not just for more content like this, but because it's a small way to stay connected to these deeper conversations. And while you're at it, leave a comment about a moment in your life that felt strangely meaningful, like it was meant to happen. These stories connect us. Dreams, for Jung, were a direct line to the unconscious. Not just random images, but messages, symbols with purpose. If you dream of a house, maybe it's not about real estate, it's about the self. Different rooms could reflect different. We often walk through life assuming we understand ourselves, only to discover that much of who we are lies hidden beneath the surface. Carl Jung believed the human psyche is like an iceberg. Only a small fraction is visible above water, while the vast, complex mass lies unseen below. And it's in those depths where the most transformative parts of us live. Our fears, our desires, our instincts, they don't always speak in words. They whisper through symbols, dreams, slips of the tongue. Jung called this the unconscious, not because it's asleep or inactive, but because it's alive in ways we don't always comprehend. Have you ever caught yourself reacting intensely to something trivial? A moment of jealousy, shame, or fear that felt outsized? That's often your shadow at play, the parts of yourself you'd rather not admit you carry. But repressing the shadow doesn't make it disappear. It makes it stronger. It grows in silence, gains weight in denial. Jung didn't believe in banishing the shadow. He believed in integrating it, facing it, learning from it. Because to become whole, we must accept all of who we are, not just the polished, presentable parts. If that resonates with you, take a second to subscribe to the channel. These are the kinds of conversations we explore here, deep, reflective, and challenging in all the right ways. It's not just about learning, it's about transforming the way we live. The process Jung described, individuation, isn't some mystical rite. It's the slow, often painful unraveling of everything we thought we were, so we can become who we truly are. It's not about perfection. It's about authenticity. Think about how many roles we're asked to play: friend, partner, worker, parent. Sometimes we wear these masks so long we forget they're not our skin. Jung called this the persona. It's the face we show the world, molded by expectations and the need for acceptance. But the danger is mistaking the mask for the self. When we live only in our persona, we risk becoming strangers to ourselves. And there's a deep loneliness that comes from living a life disconnected from your essence. When we strip away the noise, the labels, the pressures, what's left? That question, simple as it sounds, is what Jung dedicated his life to exploring. He believed that meaning isn't given to us, we have to create it. Through introspection, through facing our dreams and our fears, through listening to the quiet voice that calls us inward. Because no one else can walk that path for you. And no one else can tell you what your soul longs for. In many ways, Jung's work was less about answers and more about cultivating the right questions. Questions that don't just scratch the surface but dig deep. Questions that make us pause, rethink, realign. And sometimes, it's in those moments of quiet discomfort that real growth begins. We spend so much time trying to fix ourselves, when maybe what we really need is to listen. Not every flaw is a problem to be solved. Some are signposts pointing us towards something unacknowledged, something vital. Jung was fascinated by dreams, not because they're strange or mysterious, but because they're honest. In dreams, the unconscious speaks its own language. You can't lie to yourself in a dream. You can try to ignore the message, but it's still there. Recurring symbols, patterns, emotions, they're all clues. He believed that if you pay close enough attention, your dreams will tell you exactly what your psyche is struggling with. They reveal what your conscious mind is too proud or too afraid to admit. And maybe that's why this journey is so uncomfortable at times. Growth asks us to surrender control, to allow space for uncertainty, to accept that we don't always know what's best for us. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That hits hard. Because how many decisions have we made out of fear, out of habit, out of patterns we didn't even know were running us? If you're still here, you're probably the kind of person who seeks depth. So why not subscribe? This space is for people who are tired of the superficial and ready for something more honest, more raw, more human. There's this moment many people have, maybe after a major breakup, a job loss, the death of someone close, when everything we thought we knew collapses. Jung called it the dark night of the soul. It's not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. But in the moment, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like everything is falling apart. And in a way, it is. The false self is dying. The roles that no longer serve you are shedding. What remains is the opportunity to rebuild, not from expectation, but from truth. That kind of transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's slow, messy, non-linear, but it's real. There's something profoundly unsettling yet deeply inviting about the way Carl Jung approached life, not as a neat, linear path, but as an unfolding mystery filled with shadows and light. He didn't offer simple answers or quick fixes. Instead, he invited us to wrestle with the contradictions inside ourselves, to explore the unknown parts of our psyche with curiosity rather than fear. Imagine life not just as what happens to you, but as a continuous dialogue between your conscious self and the deeper, often hidden layers of your being. It's in that dialogue that meaning emerges, sometimes faintly, sometimes in thunderous clarity. Jung believed that the search for meaning is central to the human experience. We're wired not just to survive but to seek purpose. Think about that for a moment. How often do we rush through our days ignoring the silent questions beneath the noise? What does it mean to live authentically? Is it possible to align our outer life with the inner world of our dreams, fears, and desires? These aren't just philosophical musings but real challenges Jung saw everyone facing. He talked about individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are beyond societal masks and inherited beliefs. This journey isn't easy. Sometimes it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself that you'd rather avoid. You might relate to this on a personal level, the moments when you feel stuck, or when something inside you whispers that your life isn't quite yours. Maybe you're chasing achievements, relationships, or validation but still feel a strange emptiness. Jung would say that emptiness is often the psyche's way of telling us we need to look inward, that the parts of ourselves we reject or ignore are trying to be seen. Think of it like an internal compass recalibrating. This process can bring anxiety and confusion, but it also holds the potential for profound growth. At this point, it's worth reflecting on how much we let external expectations dictate our sense of self. Jung warned against living life through the persona, the social mask we wear to fit in or be accepted. The danger is that if we identify too closely with this mask, we lose touch with who we really are. It's like wearing a costume for so long that you forget there's a person underneath. Have you ever felt this dissonance? The tension between who you are in public and who you feel you are inside. That tension can be a doorway to greater self-awareness if we're willing to step through it. Interestingly, Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide or deny because they don't fit the image we want to present. These might be impulses, feelings, or traits we consider unacceptable. But paradoxically, the shadow isn't just darkness. It's also a source of creativity, vitality, and authentic power once integrated. Imagine for a second what would happen if instead of fearing your flaws or insecurities, you embrace them as parts of your wholeness. How different would your experience of life be? This doesn't mean indulging every impulse without restraint but recognizing that denial leads to fragmentation. The more we suppress, the more those parts unconsciously control us. Jung's invitation was radical in its simplicity. Bring the shadow into the light. Acknowledge your contradictions and complexities. This inner work transforms not only your relationship with yourself but also with others. Empathy grows when we recognize that everyone carries shadows. No one is purely good or bad, light or dark. Pause for a moment here. If this resonates, it's a perfect time to subscribe to the channel, where we dive into these deep explorations of self and meaning. There's a whole world of psychological insights waiting to help you live more consciously. And I'd love to hear what you think, so don't forget to share your reflections in the comments below. How do you relate to the idea of the shadow in your life? Moving forward, Jung also emphasized the power of dreams as messages from the unconscious. Dreams aren't random. They're symbolic stories from the deeper self trying to communicate. When we pay attention to them, we gain clues about unresolved conflicts or hidden desires. Have you ever woken up from a dream feeling puzzled yet certain it held some truth about your life? That's the unconscious speaking, inviting you to listen. Instead of dismissing dreams as nonsense, what if we treated them as a map to navigate our inner terrain? In daily life, Jung encouraged embracing paradoxes. Life is rarely black and white, and our psyche reflects that complexity. Holding contradictory ideas or feelings can feel uncomfortable, but it's also where growth happens. For example, love and hate can coexist toward the same person. Strength can emerge from vulnerability. Jung's whole approach to psychology was less about fixing problems and more about accepting and integrating opposites inside us. This leads to an important question. How do we cultivate awareness in a cult? Life often feels like a vast ocean, unpredictable and deep, yet Carl Jung's insights help us navigate its currents with more awareness. He believed that life's meaning isn't handed to us on a silver platter. It's something we uncover by diving into the depths of our unconscious, the hidden parts of ourselves that we usually ignore. Imagine for a moment that inside each of us there's a map, not drawn on paper but etched in symbols, dreams, and the feelings we try to push away. Jung called this the collective unconscious, a shared psychological reservoir full of archetypes that shape our experiences without us even realizing it. This idea alone invites us to reflect. How much of what drives our decisions, fears, and desires is influenced by forces beyond our conscious control? Jung's approach to life was never about neat answers or easy fixes. Instead, he emphasized the importance of embracing contradictions within ourselves, the light and the shadow, the known and the unknown. Life's complexity isn't a problem to solve but a dance to engage with, a continuous process of balancing and integrating these opposing parts. You might have noticed moments when you felt conflicted, like wanting one thing but fearing another, or being drawn towards something that also scares you. This inner tension isn't a flaw. It's a sign that you're growing, that you're alive and wrestling with what it means to be human. One of Jung's most practical tools for navigating life's uncertainties was the practice of active imagination, engaging with your dreams and inner images to unlock personal insights. When you pay attention to the symbols that arise in your mind's eye, you're tapping into a dialogue between your conscious self and the deeper layers of your psyche. For example, if you dream of a labyrinth or a journey through a dark forest, it might not just be a random image but a metaphor for your own inner exploration, your struggles, or your path to transformation. What might your dreams be telling you right now? Are you listening closely enough to hear their messages? Jung also emphasized the concept of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming the person you are truly meant to be by integrating all parts of yourself, including those aspects you might consider unacceptable or undesirable. This process is anything but easy. It requires courage to face your shadows and patience to accept yourself fully. It's like peeling an onion layer by layer, sometimes bringing tears but ultimately leading to a richer, more authentic existence. Think about how often we hide parts of ourselves out of fear of judgment or rejection. How might your life change if you embraced those hidden pieces instead of denying them? When Jung talked about life, he often stressed the importance of meaning and purpose beyond the material world. In a culture obsessed with productivity and external success, his ideas remind us to pause and ask, what truly fulfills us? What is the source of a life well lived? For Jung, meaning arises when we connect with something greater than ourselves, whether that be through art, spirituality, relationships, or personal growth. It's not about achieving a specific goal, but about engaging deeply with the journey itself. Have you noticed how moments of true fulfillment often come unexpectedly? Not from ticking off a to-do list, but from feeling connected to others, to nature, or to a deeper sense of self. This brings us to another powerful idea Jung introduced, synchronicity. It's the experience of meaningful coincidences that can't be explained by cause and effect but seem to point toward a larger pattern or purpose. Ever had a moment when you thought about someone, only to receive a call from them? Or stumbled upon a book or idea at exactly the right time? Jung saw these moments as glimpses of the underlying order in chaos, nudging us toward greater awareness. They challenge the purely rational mindset and invite us to see life as a web of interconnectedness rather than isolated events. How open are you to noticing these subtle signs and trusting their guidance? In terms of practical life application, Jung's thoughts push us to slow down and listen more, to ourselves and to the world around us. In a fast-paced environment, it's tempting to rush through experiences or avoid uncomfortable emotions. But by cultivating self-reflection, journaling, or even simply sitting quietly with our thoughts, we open the door to deeper understanding. For example, someone struggling with anxiety might discover through introspection that their fear is tied to an unresolved inner conflict or a shadow aspect waiting to be acknowledged. This process doesn't erase difficulties overnight, but creates space for healing and transformation. How often do we grant ourselves permission to pause and explore what's beneath the surface? Let's not forget how Jung's perspective also extends to relationships. He saw the dynamics between people as mirrors reflecting our own unconscious patterns. When we feel triggered or repeatedly hurt by someone, it's often because they're reflecting parts of ourselves we haven't fully integrated. Recognizing this can be a game changer, turning conflict into an opportunity for growth rather than just frustration. It's a call to be curious about why certain